What's up guys, this is FlamingVictini, and this time I'm back with my narration for my OLT games versus ABR. This was round 4, but I think my 5th set, and ABR had just been knocked out of winners brackets by Shake, and I had just beaten Sung in the last round. So, looking at the teams, ABR definitely has the team matchup in this game, so the reason for I am bringing my team, I did a little looking at ABR's teams, and I noticed that all of his recent OLT teams were really weak to Volcarona, particularly if they ran Torn to beat Volcarona, my bad. I ran some calcs so that my Volcarona would be bulky, so that it could take +2. It could take Hurricanes with +2 SpDef and roost them off. So I was really thinking that Volcarona would be able to just beat ABR's team. But he actually brought a very nice choice in Diancie, Talonflame, Starmie, which does pretty well against offensive cores, and against my team it does particularly well. I was not expecting Talonflame, but I do have ways to beat Talonflame. It's just I think I should have run Rock Slide on my Tangrowth, but you'll see that it's not actually Rock Slide Tangrowth. It's actually a Rocky Helmet. And then I'm running Sleep Powder, Leech Seed, Giga Drain, and I think Knockoff, I think. So it's a little interesting set. I probably should have tested more on the use of Leech Seed, and I probably would have ended up replacing it with Rock Slide or Earthquake or something of the sort. But I think I used to have Amoonguss, which would have really helped reduce pressure from Excadrill. And I'm not AV Excadrill because AV Excadrill would have been nice for Diancie, but I really needed the balloon to take on stuff like Hippowdon a little bit better. I do have Toxic, which is a great suggestion by John Yu. I really, thanks to him for that suggestion, because it was really important in this game to have Toxic on that Excadrill, which is really good to cripple that Hippowdon, which helps for Manectric, and then I can just stall out turns with Tangrowth, Keldeo. And also just to help me with Lando T, I am running Rocky Helmet because it helps me chip down Scarf Lando T's with U-turn damage, that to go for U-turn, so it really helps out with Volcarona a little bit, I guess. Not really that much because they can't outspeed at +1, but it mostly helps out with Excadrill, especially since T-Tar does not have Ice Beam, so it really helps to get some chip damage on that Lando T. And I originally had a Amoonguss, but it was just a little bit too ground weak, so that's why I decided to go with Tangrowth, but now I will suffer to Diancie. And he did bring Hippowdon. I was looking at my past Megas, and all of them Hippowdon did well against. I had brought Manectric, Scizor, Altaria, Charizard, and also Waterless Gyarados, so I think Hippowdon was a good choice by him, and I think overall ABR made a good choice with this team in going Diancie, Talon, Starmie, Hippo. Ferrothorn just patches up a lot of defensive issues and gives spikes, which is really good. And Hoopa is an interesting choice. It does well against my fat teams, so if I chose to bring a fat Mon, that would have done a fat team, Hoopa would have done pretty well. So I really wanted the Diancie to not Mega Evolve. I really needed, so my game plan for this game, it was pretty tough. I was thinking if I can Toxic the Hippowdon, then Manectric might be able to put in a ton of work, especially if I chip down that Hoopa or trap it with T-Tar. And I was also thinking I can win with Volcarona. It is Fiery Dance Giga Drain, so I was thinking I can win with Volcarona if I get up Stealth Rocks, or if I could Toxic the Talonflame, because Brave Bird actually does not that much to Volcarona. I'll show up a calc later when the actual turns come up, but Volcarona can Roost Stall, Brave Bird, or Acrobatics a little bit, especially with the Toxic. It won't perfectly Roost Stall, because it'll still be taking damage with leftovers every turn, but Talonflame will also take damage, and if it has Brave Bird, it'll take Recoil. And with Rocks, that also adds up, so I was really thinking that Volcarona might be able to win, or Manectric might be able to win, but I really have to play Excadrill really well. Also, if I can remove the Starmie, he has no switch-ins to Keldeo, which is something to keep in mind. I am Life Orb Breast Talk Keldeo, and Diancie is a huge threat to me, as is Talonflame. Those are the main things. And Starmie is really annoying because it can just guarantee that my Tyranitar won't get rocks. Because even if I get up rocks, he brings in Starmie, traps. Basically he keeps spinning until I kill the Starmie. Even if I trap and kill it, then he can bring in Diancie on my T-Tar, and then I won't be able to get up rocks because of Magic Bounce, unless I'm able to somehow switch out to Diancie and force it out without losing too many mons. then later come back in with T-Tar and Stone Edge the Diancie, and then do that one more time, and to like create, it's going to be really hard for me to get up rocks this game, and the only real way to do it is to somehow have the Starmie in sand range. If the Starmie gets in range of sand, then I can possibly, and then if Starmie gets like knocked out into range of sand, and then forced out, like some way to kill the Starmie, if I can either kill the Starmie, and with a Mon that will not allow Diancie to come in for free and Mega Evolve, or if I can get it into sand range and force it out so that T-Tar can later get up rocks. That's the only really way I'm going to get up rocks. And I did lead with Tangrowth because I wanted to discourage the Diancie from Mega Evolving if it was not Protect. But he actually leads off with Band Hoopa. Goes straight for the Gunk Shot. I didn't want to go into T-Tar there. It probably would have been fine, but I was really paranoid about if this was Drain Punch, and I wasn't sure off the bat if this was Choice Band. I mean, I felt it was likely to be Choice Band, but just in case it was like Life Orb mixed, T-Tar would not have worked. Even if I was Chople, a bit of damage, I think he would have been able to kill me. So I'm able to get off the Sleep Powder on the Tangrowth. I think if I didn't Sleep Powder the Hoopa, I would have been able to Sleep Powder the Talonflame later. Just the threat of being able to Sleep Powder the Talonflame later, if I was able to remove, if I just went to T-Tar, and clicked Pursuit on the Hoopa turn 1, then it would have been really low. Then Hippowdon does not beat Tangrowth, Starmie does not beat Tangrowth, and I can knock off the Ferrothorn and slowly wear it down. Although it can set up hazards, I can still wear it down. And Diancie does not beat Tangrowth 1v1. Even, it might be able to force me out if it has Sand to take Giga Drains better. But really, and Talonflame, if it's not Taunt, if the Talonflame is not Taunt, I'll be able to Sleep Powder it. I can easily take a Brave Bird or an Acrobatics, also get off a little bit of Rocky Helmet damage, and then by Sleep Powdering the Talonflame, I really kind of crippled it a little bit. So I do go to my T-Tar as he brings in his Ferrothorn. I'm just going to go for the Stealth Rocks as he just goes for the Gyro Ball to get off damage on me. So right here, I'm going to go to my Volcarona as he pulls a nice switch into his Starmie. I guess I'm definitely expecting the Volcarona, so I don't have Bug Buzz. You don't really see Bug Buzz much these days in Oras Volcarona, but he goes for the Rapid Spin. I decide to stay in and just go for the Giga Drain. If he Scalded even, I would have been able to take the Scald and get off Giga Drain. I would have been fine with that. And looking at that Giga Drain damage, I'm not going to be able to stall this. Now I think this was a mistake. I didn't realize the Sand would end this turn, so I probably should have Giga Drained one more time and then gone to T-Tar to get the Sand back up. So that was actually really poor on my part. So I decide I'm just going to stay in regardless, screw it, and I just go for the Crunch, and I knock this to 4%, but because of that Leftovers recovery, I'm never going to be able to knock this into range of Sand without killing it. So it's going to be really, really hard. I can't kill it with T-Tar, otherwise I won't get rocks up. So I go to Tangrowth here, as he just goes for another Scald. He goes to Talonflame here, as I'm just going to double back into T-Tar, expecting that Talonflame. Now, the thing is, even if I go for rocks right here, he can just go to Starmie and just spam spin, which is really, really troublesome. So I just go for the Stone Edge. I just go for the Stone Edge, take out the Starmie. In case his Talonflame went into Taunt also, it also accounted for his Talonflame going for an aggressive Taunt, and it would have done damage if he went for the Will-O-Wisp too. But he goes to his Diancie, and I have nothing to switch in, so I just sack my T-Tar. I just accept that I'm not going to be able to get up rocks this game. So I go into Excadrill, and I go for the Earthquake, as he goes to his Ferrothorn. That does very little. I am Jolly Balloon. It's a little weaker than you expect, but it's still, it's because this team is so weak to opposing Excadrill, that's why I ran it, even with Tangrowth. So he actually makes a very, very nice play in Power Whips, predicting my Keldeo. That's 100% predicting my Keldeo, because Volcarona, he wouldn't Power Whip if he expected Volcarona. So that was very, very nicely to predict the Keldeo. I thought he was going to double or lay up hazards, to be honest, but I guess he might have doubled into Diancie, would have worked. But here I go to Manectric, and seeing how obvious the Hippowdon is, I'm just going to double into my Excadrill, and here he gets, I land the Toxic. He does stay in to Whirlwind my Excadrill, which is really great, because now I know this Hippowdon can't break my Excadrill's balloon, and I've got off a Toxic on the Hippowdon, which is just really good. So I go back into my Excadrill. If he wants to go for the Stealth Rocks, I can spin them, and it just takes the Earthquake, and he actually goes to his Talonflame. This was such an important turn. I go for the Toxic, and I miss as he gets off the burn. this was really tough for me just because I had nothing to switch into the burn. I wasn't confident in switching to Volcarona and then switching to Manectric on a Brave Bird or something like that. I just wasn't confident in it, and especially since I wasn't getting Intimidate, I really didn't want him to double Wisp on the Volcarona, which was really easy for him to do. And I really needed this Toxic on the Talonflame. I really did. Without this Toxic, I think the game is just lost. Like, at this point, there's like no way to win. Even with the Toxic on the Hippowdon, it's just going to be so hard to win with Manectric. It's just not possible. The Hippowdon's like near full. It's not showing me the health, which I'm trying to get. But missing that Toxic was just crushing for me. It just took away all chance. Excadrill was really good. I mean, what I could have done is gone to Volcarona on the Wisp, and then somehow try to get something in on a non-Wisp. And even if I can't get Manectric in on a non-Wisp, I can still try to play around with Excadrill. But the thing is, his Ferrothorn is around, I think, 76%. Actually, no, his Ferrothorn is low. So maybe it was worthwhile to get my Excadrill in. But really, like, the only way I'm going to be able to do it is if I catch the Talonflame on a switch with Toxic. And I think ABR would realize how risky it is to get Talonflame switched with Toxic, that he can just go to Ferrothorn, sack it to an Earthquake, and then bring in Talonflame, and then I'm back at square one. Like, do I switch out again, or do I just accept that my Excadrill's going to get burnt and just go for the Toxic on the Talonflame? So I just decided I needed that Toxic on the Talonflame right now, and then I needed to start pressuring it with I needed to start pressuring him with Volcarona really hard. And I think that was my way to win, and switching out really in the long run wasn't going to get me far. So that's why I stay in and go for the Toxic, as he's able to land the Wisp, which is huge, because now his Hippowdon can take on my Excadrill. He can switch around and stuff, so I try to go for the Earthquake, see if he goes to Ferrothorn or something, but it's just not going to help me. Because now without the Toxic on the Talonflame, I just have no way to wear it down, which is so bad. So right here, I go into my Tangrowth, get a little Regenerator, and I just go back into my Excadrill in case he whatever he wants to do. He does go to Talonflame, so I'm pressuring the Toxic again. But he has really no reason to stay in with his Talonflame and risk that Toxic. So predicting the I actually predicted the Hippowdon right there, so I go into my Tangrowth. But he actually goes to his Ferrothorn, which is even more annoying. So I just go for the knockoff here to remove the Leftovers Recovery. It's not doing that much though, and he can get up a Spike, which is not that good. So here he goes to his Talonflame, as I just go for a Giga Drain. Right here, I think right here I just go for the knockoff, just to see what it does. I think if I went for a Leech Seed, that might have been good. And of course, if I had the Toxic on this Talonflame, it would be so much different. I think Leech Seed was the best play there, but he actually goes for the bulk up right here. I think he was expecting my Earthquake, and he didn't want to Roost in case I had Earthquake. So here I go for the T-Bolt. Roost is pretty obvious, and it's really tough. Should I predict the Hippowdon, or do I predict another Roost? And I just go for another T-Bolt, predicting him to Roost one more time, but he does go to Hippowdon. And now right here I kind of make a last hope play, just hoping that he chokes and goes for a Whirlwind rather than going for the Earthquake or the Slack Off, I guess. But Earthquake was his best play right there. I think I was hoping that he would try to predict the Excadrill or something of the sorts, and I'm just not able to do it. And that Hidden Power did so little. It did 36%, which means it's a really bulky Hippowdon. So I just go to my Volcarona, as he just goes for another Earthquake. He doesn't need this Hippowdon anymore, and I just Roost just to see what he wants to do, keep myself a little healthy, and he's just gonna Earthquake. Well, right here he goes for the Whirlwind, but like this last turns after the Toxic Miss are just a blur to me, because there was just no way to win after the Toxic Miss, and that's just Pokemon. That's just what Pokemon is. But I go for the Rapid Spin to get rid of the Spike. I probably should have just killed this Hippowdon so that he can't get up Stealth Rocks, but it's just a lost game. This Diancie comes in and just wins. Diamond Storms the Volcarona, I can Moonblast the Tangrowth, and there's only so long that I can stay in with my Tangrowth and survive. And of course he does have Talonflame as well, and you see that Moonblast does a ton to this Tangrowth since it is physically defensive. So yeah, that's the game. There wasn't really much I could do after the Toxic Miss on Talonflame. It really ruined any chances I had. But ABR did prepare very well with the matchup. He did bring a nice team that paired up well against my team. And he obviously did play very well too, so that was a good game, I think. It's just if I had that toxic, if I hit that toxic, I think it would have been a little more exciting, because then there's a little more counterplay for me. But that was game one, and I'll be right back with game two. Alright guys, we're back for game two. Now this time I'm bringing a team. It's a little bit from a while back. I built it sometime around the old T laddering period, and it was inspired by Celebi nasty passing. Not even Calm Mind passing, nasty passing, because I wanted to immediately threaten stall. That was the key of running nasty blood, because stall was very, very prevalent in this time. I think it was around cycle 2 or 3. And of course Diancie, Keldeo, Diancie, Rock Polish Diancie, and Scarf Keldeo was a very good pair, and Heatran was the primary stall destroyer, and Skarmory Hippowdon just completes the team very nicely. So the team actually does not have many anti-hazard removal stuff, so I don't actually have spikes on the Skarmory. Now the Skarmory is actually taunt toxic, which is really, really interesting. I have been able to, I think I played someone in Smogon, and this Skarmory basically soloed them. It was just so powerful because you can spread the toxics to stuff like Rotom-Wash or Raikou, stuff like that. You just spread the toxic to the bulky grounds, to the Hippowdon, and then you just taunt around. It's just like an anti-ground kind of thing. A little more, a little less passive, I mean. Like, you still have Whirlwind, you don't actually have Whirlwind, I think. You have Iron Head, Taunt, Roost, Toxic, but it's a bit pressuring. You can Toxic Torns, which is really, really good. You can Toxic Garchomps, stuff like that. And I actually do have Air Balloon, Taunt, Will-O-Wisp, Heatran. Will-O-Wisp is a little more active and stopping stuff like Azumarill, Garchomp. And I also have the Air Balloon Taunt, which is really, really good. So, and also if I burn stuff like Garchomp, that gives Diancie a potential opportunity to Rock Polish if I don't need health as much. So that's really all nice in general. And RP Diancie, I don't have Earth Power, I have HP Fire, which is just superior on this team. But for this game, I did wish I have Earth Power, and you'll find out why. But Hippowdon, Rocker, Whirlwind, phase stuff out, and Celebi as a nasty passer. So ABR has a nice team. Basically, it's similar to the other team, which has Breloom over Alakazam. But I think ABR chose to go for Alakazam this game. He was actually expecting me to run offense. I felt like he would expect me to run offense, so that's why I did not run offense. Just a little pattern of mine. But I was curious that this team, it just loses to my Sableye. Like, Sableye just destroys this. I burn, like, the Torn, I can knock it off of its Life Orb, and I just burn stall it. I burn Excadrill. I beat Alakazam if it's not Dazzling Gleam, which it's not. It's HP Ice, actually. More of the anti-offense. I burn Manectric and stall it out with cover. I burn Garchomp. It just has no, even if it's Toxic Garchomp, I just Heal Bell it off with my Altaria. So, like, I'm really surprised that he didn't bring, I'm really surprised that he's so Sableye weak. But looking at team matchup, Diancie is a threat. If I can Rock Polish and remove or weaken the Azumarill, I guess, it's a big threat. The problem is he has that Excadrill, and I have no way to punish the Excadrill, like, because Skarmory is not Rocky Helmet, and this is one of the reasons why I love Rocky Helmet Skarmory, because if that Excadrill is not, if it's not Life Orb, and heck, even if it's like an ABR set with like leftovers, like, it's just gonna be so much hard to stop it, because like, this is the thing I don't like about Skarmory, is it just gives, it's so passive. Sometimes it just plays out a little too passively, and in this case, it counters Excadrill, but it just allows it to spin freely, and Excadrill just doesn't take damage. The only damage it's going to be taking is the hazards from Stealth Rocks, which is just not enough. And I need to put that Excadrill in range of Diancie's HP Fire, which is really, really bad. I do have a few opportunities to set up with Diancie on my Torn, though, which is good. Heatran can be a threat if I spread some burns to Garchomp and Azumarill. Keldeo is also a pretty big threat, mainly if I can remove Torn or weaken it severely, same with Azumarill. And if I Nasty Pass to Diancie and get off a Rock Polish, I kinda just win. But I have to be careful of Banded Aqua Jet, of course. And of course, if I Nasty Pass to Keldeo as well, that's a huge threat. If I have Rock Stuff, I can actually Oko the Torn, I think, with Hydro Pump. Because I am Modest Scarf, actually, so that's really good, but it's going to be very tough to Nasty Pass. Just because he has a Garchomp that can Dragon Tail. And He might have Taunt Alakazam. I didn't know it was HP Ice at this time, and I was thinking that the Torrent would be Life Orb. Although his team is a little bit weak to Mega Alakazam, I wasn't sure if it would be Life Orb or Assault Vest. But anyway, so now into the actual game. I decided to lead off with my Skarmory as he leads off with his Azumarill. I go straight for the Toxic to start wearing this down and see how much it's doing. As he goes for the Waterfall, that does 60%, which is a ton of damage. Sorry about that. I was saying that it was the Waterfall damage just indicated to me that the Azumarill was choice banded, which meant I could play around a little more easily, but it would hit a lot harder, which means I wouldn't be able to wall it as easily. And I also just realized that I was recording with my earbuds, which you guys voted against, but hopefully there's not a lot of rustling. Regardless, I switch into my Celebi on the second Waterfall, and believe it or not, I think this turn 3, was the turn that decided this game. I discussed this game a lot with ABR, and I think turn 3 was the turn that decided this game. I could go for Giga Drain right here, and that would be just huge. But predicting the Torn, basically predicting the Torn, I decided to go for the Baton Pass, as he just stays in, so I have to go to my Keldeo right here to take the Waterfall. And I get off a little more toxic damage, but like, turn 3 was so big. The thing is, if I went for like a nasty plot right there, that would have been a huge threat. This means I could have potentially nasty passed to my Keldeo, which would have been really, really big. And also I can just Giga Drain, and this Torn won't be able to OHKO my Celebi, which will also be really, really huge. And it was just a huge turn right there. I'm not sure how to explain it until the game ends, but it just set the momentum of the game. It just changed the whole momentum of the game. If I Baton passed as he went to his Torn, that probably would have been game over, because that just meant I can bring in Diancie, and now he's in a huge trouble. It means I've kind of forced in the Excadrill, which means I get off the damage that I need on the Excadrill. And once I get off the damage that I need on the Excadrill, that means I can Rock Polish later and win the game. So that turn was really, really huge. If I predicted it right, I think I would have won this game. But right here, I think I make another poor play. I go for the HP Electric in case he wants to stay in, but I think it was a little obvious that the Azumarill would not want to stay in. And Torn was also just like a pretty obvious play, so I probably could have gone for the Scald, and if I got a burn on this later, that would have helped me wear this down, and you'll see that later on in the game, that extra damage might have as well been the difference between a win or a loss. Now right here, a U-turn was very, very obvious, but I had no option but to switch, because even if I HP Electric again, the Torn would regen that damage off, and he would get a free switch into Garchomp. Now this was also another huge play that he gets off the Toxic on my Hippowdon as I go for the Stealth Rocks. This was also really big. It softens me up to the Manectric, to the Excadrill, and it's hard to explain because these are very, very early turn games. These are very, very these moves are very, very early in the game, but it's actually surprisingly big. So I use this as an opportunity to roost off with my Skarmory, but like I said, it gives Excadrill a free slot. So I decided to go to my Diancie, use this as an opportunity to Mega Evolve and get off a huge hit. And ABR doesn't really have much for this Diancie, so he goes to his Azumarill. If I Rock Polish there, that would be really bad for him, because then I force back in the Excadrill, which means I dictate more momentum. So he decides to go to his Azumarill, sack that to the Moonblast, and bring in his Alakazam. This thing is a huge threat. I decided to just sack Celebi. This was probably another potential misplay. I could have used Celebi to Nasty Pass later on in the game, but really it would have been tough for me to Nasty Pass. Now, this was also a little bit tough. I probably could have roosted here, but I didn't realize the Focus Blast would do that much damage. He actually gets a Spadef Dog, which means the Roost would not have helped me. But I wanted to get off the Iron Head damage to put this in range of the attacks, and he actually, I go to my Heatran here, because so he goes for the Psychic, and I'm kind of just hoping for the Focus Blast to miss. So I actually just go for the Magma Storm and get that on the Garchomp, as he switches out his Alakazam, not wanting to risk the Focus Blast. I go for the Wisp and I miss it, which is a little bit annoying because that was another potential setup opportunity with Diancie. But I think in the long run, it really did not matter that much. I think those early turn games, turn 3, the turn he Toxic my Hippowdon, the turn I HP Electric Azumarill even was bad. So the Skarmy, I'm trying to keep it healthy for the Excadrill, for the Torn, and potentially for the because Skarmy can still win this game, but it can only win if the Manectric goes down, and it's just giving Manectric free switch. This is the passive nature of Skarmy that I don't like, and that the set kind of attempts to alleviate a little bit. So he goes for the Flamethrower right here. I just set up Stealth Rocks. I'm trying to get off a little chip damage, and at this point my goal in the game is to crit the Excadrill to win. That's the only way I can win. So here I go for the Earthquake. Let me explain that play. The reason is if he wants to go for the U-turn, trying to avoid my Diancie from setting up, then if he goes for the U-turn, then I'll basically get off Earthquake against something, and I'll be able to have some counterplay. His only thing that he can go to is Garchomp there, and that gives Skarm a free switch, which can start putting a little bit more pressure on his team. And he actually goes for the Heat Wave. If I went into Diancie there, that would have been really tough for ABR, because if I went to Diancie, that meant that I forced in the Excadrill, and that meant I could get off an HP Fire, or heck, even just a Moonblast on it. And then later on, if I can somehow force the Torn in and get it to kill something without U-turning, perhaps with Keldeo, then I can Rock Polish and just guaranteed win the game. But, so it was kind of a toss-up there. But, if I went to Diancie, I still had playing chances to win, because I just need damage on that Excadrill. And if he didn't go to Excadrill, that would mean sacking Mon. So I think, like, if I did get Diancie there on the Heat Wave, it might have been safer for him to just sack Garchomp and then bring in Excadrill, but then this way I keep Hippowdon, so I have a little more momentum. I also have a potential to set up Sand again, so I can also set up on Alakazam or Manectric, because I do get that boost. But I do bring in my Diancie right here on the U-turn, and I go straight for the Rock Polish. My only way to win this game at this point is to crit the Excadrill with the HP Fire, which is what I'm going for. So I go for the Moonblast here, take off the Garchomp, and I have to HP Fire here. There's switching here is not going to accomplish anything. I can switch, it's not going to accomplish anything. The extra damage from Stealth Rocks and me attempting to Rock Polish again is just not going to work. So I just go for the crit right here. It's now or never, and I don't get it. So the Excadrill is able to kill me with the Iron Head, and this is pretty much the game. This is where I was talking about scalding the Torn, because I go to my Keldeo and then go for the Hydro Pump. And look how low his Torn is. His Torn is at like 76%, but if it was like a little bit lower from burns earlier on, or if I just went for the Hydro Pump earlier on rather than an HP Electric, this would have been a bit lower, and I would have been able to kill it. And as you saw from the Hydro Pump damage, a +2 Keldeo would have just destroyed this guy's team, assuming I hit. So if I went for the Nasty Plot on turn 3 rather than Baton Passing, or heck, even if I just went for the Giga Drain on the Azumarill and just killed it, it just would have changed the momentum so much. It would have meant Diancie gets an extra kill on a different Mon later on in the game. And it just meant for a lot of ways for me to win. And of course, if I did Baton Pass on the switch to Torn into my Diancie, that also probably would have led to a won game. So I think he beats me in score by like 3-0. Actually, no. I think it was 2-0, but it was still surprisingly close, and I think the early turns really dictated the momentum of this game, and that's what led to who won and who lost. So I think those early turn predictions were really important. The Toxic on the Toxic from Garchomp on Hippo was pretty important too, but I really think turn 3 was, if you're going to pinpoint one turn that decided this battle, I think it was turn 3, which is pretty surprising, but it was still a very intense series, very enjoyable series, and I had a lot of fun. My OLT run was pretty enjoyable. I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. This will be the end of OLT, and I will have the teams in the description for all of my OLT teams. So yeah, if you enjoyed, please leave a thumbs up, subscribe for more content. I will be bringing more tournament content and of course like lives and stuff like that. And see you guys later.